The gun debate is back on in Washington, but the school massacre in Newtown, Connecticut raised big questions about another issue as well, mental illness. The shooters in Tucson, Arizona and Aurora, Colorado are believed to have significant mental problems. And while that's not yet certain about Newtown gunman Adam Lanza, it's a clear possibility. Dr. Harold Koplewicz is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. He's president of the Child Mind Institute here in New York. Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, are we paying enough attention to mental illness in this country?
Absolutely not. It's truly amazing to me that we treat diseases above the neck totally differently than we treat diseases below the neck. So we have 15 million children and teenagers in the United States who have a real psychiatric disorder. And the important news about that is that 75% of all psychiatric illness occurs before the age of 24 and 50% before the age of 14. So if we change the system so that people are better able to recognize it, you can treat something a lot more effectively if it's only a year old or 2 years old than someone who gets psychiatric illness for 25 years or 30 years, like any of us.
Some people are asking the question now, science has come a long way, and we know a lot more about mental illness and health in general. Has health changed, though? Has our mental illness changed in this society, or are we just recognizing it more?
So I think we're definitely recognizing it more, but we also know that if you take someone who is helpless and hopeless, and that can occur when a teenager gets depression or when someone has a developmental disability and is feeling incredibly frustrated by the educational system and doesn't see, or someone's got a conduct disorder and is about to go to juvenile justice system, they feel so helpless, they have no other skills, they lash out. This year alone, 5,000 teenagers will commit suicide. 600,000 will attempt to suicide and will need an emergency room visit. That statistic is 40 years old. For the last 40 years, that's happened every year. We have a way of just ignoring this, of just saying these kids are bad seeds or they're just very sick, when in reality, these are our children. These are the kids that are our sons and daughters, but just as importantly, they sit next to our sons and daughters in classes around the world.
One of the things that Joe Biden's team, which President Obama just appointed yesterday, will be looking at is mental health. What should they be looking at as they look at this issue?
I think we need a whole change. We need the fact that pediatricians have to be better trained at doing mental health checkups. Mm-hmm. The same way you check someone's heart and weight and height, pediatricians need to know how to check up once a year on how someone's mood is doing, their activity level, their interest, how they sleep. And on top of that, we also have to train them how to treat the most simple and common of mental disorders. We also have to make sure teachers are aware of what behavior is normal and not normal. If a kid looks odd, a teacher has to reach out and not be afraid or just hope that the kid will disappear or the symptom will pass.
In the New York Times this week, psychiatrist Richard Friedman argued that it's impossible to predict violence in individuals. Do you agree with that? And if so, then what?
So I happen to disagree with that. I think that we know that people who are suffering from a mental illness are more at risk for hurting themselves than hurting others. That's violence. That might not mean violence outside, but violence toward yourself. The part that we can all be reassured by is that only 1% of all the homicides and suicides that occur in this age group are school shootings. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned about the kids who attempt suicide, try to take their lives, and more importantly, kids who have psychiatric disorders are more likely to be bullied, more likely to be a bully, have more academic failure, more substance abuse, and at the end of the day are more likely to be in juvenile justice or unemployed. It's our responsibility to care for them the same we would care if they had an outbreak of tuberculosis or years ago polio or 25 years ago AIDS.
Very revealing. Harold Koplewicz, thanks. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.